Because this development occurs over time and is generally outside my awareness, my hope in poetry is to articulate alternatives to the typical, traditional, or normal ways of thinking.
And cut.
Play with these people. Give them some things, questions, facial
Okay.
body, respond to his text in the way
All right.
you would like to respond to his text. And I talk about this about teaching. I think a good teacher listens to their students listening, you know, and
Okay.
so slow down the text, but give the text, listen to their listening.
Enter Freud, as if on cue. Let me tell my dreams to you. Did you expect something else? That I would let your blood check your pulse?
And I'm going to cut it again. Lynn's given it to you. I don't think you're still bound more to the text than this. Okay, start again, but I don't want you to say the next line, I call bullshit, until you read what they're giving you.
In an ongoing way throughout life, these maps or schemas are formed into being and develop from experience and interactions. Because these schemas come to frame reality and structure interpretation about reality, and because this development occurs over time and is generally outside our awareness, my hope in poetry.
I call bullshit.
Well, my hope in poetry is to articulate the structural realities.
I call bullshit.
The only response to bullshit is another poem. We must wait until the sugar dissolves. This is not his first night here, looking up through a clearing in the canopy, head tilted against a fallen trunk, and the bulk of his shoulders and back pressed into the earth.
Say
In
it
a few
again.
minutes,
Go back and just do that last little bit. Graham is your sculpture. You've wandered in, and here's a sculpture in a garden.
this is not his first night here. Looking up through a clearing in the canopy, head tilted against a fallen trunk, the bulk of his shoulders and back pressed into the earth. In a few minutes, the director will shout action and place a cube of sugar on his tongue. He can feel the camera zooming in, preserving forever the saliva moving like a river, swirling, splashing against the walls of white, the square. I don't think explaining something, for me, in comparison to the poem is filled with imagery, it's filled with varying intonation and so on. But when you're trying to explain a Deleuzian quote of non-contradiction,
Yeah.
But
what do you do?
I didn't read him calling bullshit, what you were saying.
Oh, okay.
What I understood from my reading of it is convince me, tell me,
Yes.
make this matter, right?
Well,
Says
what I heard
whether-
was bullshit on the performance.
No.
Okay,
No.
so that's interesting. I was hearing, this is not.
No, I wasn't
working.
director, I was character.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I was
All right.
character.
And the Deleuzian part is to set the context for the poem.
Yeah.
The law of contradiction, he's drawing our attention to this famous quote that he has with Bergson about a lump of sugar,
Yeah.
and saying it's identitarian thought that causes us to focus on difference this way rather than difference in here. So when the lump of sugar goes into the mouth and when we focus on its process of dissolving, it's meant to be metaphoric for the process of our own lives being indifferent through its own dissolution as we move our being through time. That's what the poem's about, but sometimes it's helpful to have the Deleuzian context before entering the poetic space.
So how you just explained it there?
Yeah, well, I'm glad it's on camera because now I need to read the
Yeah.
text.